Good morning. Welcome back to Fantasy Football 101 on Sports Radio 1450. That reminds me of the wedding singer. I know. Me too. 529-1450 is the phone number, and always streaming live on the webpage at sportsradio1450.com. We will be with you until 9 o'clock. That's about 20 minutes from now. Then Sam will take over with the yard sale. And then high school basketball this morning. We've got Southeast taking on Madison at 10:05, and then later on tonight, Glenwood takes on a team out of Georgia at 6:10 tonight. So stay listening to Sports Radio 1450 on your AM dial. I'm Adam Stark alongside Eric Pedigo, Mark Ram, and Nick Nicorelli taking your phone calls at 529-1450. And right now we'll take your phone calls still, but right now we want to run through our keepers as far as we see guys that you would want to keep for next year, the 09 season. And hard to believe 09 is rapidly approaching, but that is the case. Our final week and our final show of the NFL season. But let's run through our keepers. I don't have mine in any order. I've got 20 guys listed here. And then I've got a bunch of guys I have all grouped together, and then I have some guys that I want to talk about. And I know you guys don't like keeping quarterbacks, and we'll hear why, and I actually do, and I'll tell you why. But let's go ahead and get the ball rolling on this. Let me just throw out 10 guys at you. These are all running backs I got on my top 20 as far as keeping running backs. I got AP, D'Angelo, Westbrook, Portis, Chris Johnson, Forte, Turner, Jacobs, Barber, and Gore. Those are my top 10 running backs.
I don't have many problems with that. I have more than that, actually. All those guys that you just named, though, made my list. Every single one of them. Wait, did you say Thomas Jones?
I did not.
Okay,
he's on my second tier of...
Yeah. No, I don't keep Thomas Jones. He's going to be 31 starting next season, and this might be his last big hurrah, I'm afraid. That's what I think.
Now, I've got one guy who's right on the cusp of being in the first tier, and I just want your opinion on it. Chris Johnson. I mean, he's got the ability. He's had a great year, but do you keep him with Lindell White still on the Titans roster? As long as White's there, is he keeper material?
I think he is.
I think he is only because he's only going to get better, and he had a hell of a year this year.
And the thing that worries me about Chris Johnson is that he's 5'11", 200 pounds. So in the NFL, it's a tough league. It take a lot of hits, but it's a good thing, I think, that they have Lindell White. That way, Chris Johnson can stay relatively healthy, and he's ultra productive in the game. I think you have to keep Chris Johnson, especially with how many teams are going to the committee. The running back by committee.
Almost everyone's got.
That's right.
So you just have to deal with that and say, okay, that's what it is. Most teams have two running backs. Try to get the more productive one. In Tennessee, it's easily going to be Chris Johnson from here on out.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy. And Lindell White, he's just out of shape sometimes, and he's not going to be as dependable, I don't think, as a Chris Johnson. Sure, he can fall in the end zone from the 3. Yeah, that's why people have him on the roster. But I don't think he's a keeper by any means. Okay, here's the second tier then, staying with running back though, and guys we've already bashed a little bit, and guys that maybe getting a little long in the tooth as far as their NFL careers are concerned. LT on the top of that list. Reggie Bush, injury-prone every year he's been in so far. Joseph Adai, Eric's already thrown him away.
Hate him.
Steve Slayton, though. Steve Slayton could be one of those up-and-comers. And then I also did put down Jones Drew and Marshawn Lynch and then Thomas Jones.
See, now, Jones Drew is another guy who's right on that borderline. I think Slayton is as well. We talked about him a little bit off the air. I love the team Houston next year. They've got everything going for them. They've got a good young quarterback, stud receiver. Slayton's a stud in making it running back. Defense is good. I think Slayton has a real good possibility to break that top 10 list.
A big issue is whether or not you're in a point per reception league.
Yeah.
Because guys like Steve Slayton and Jones Drew get bumped immediately into the top tier if that's the case. These guys caught a lot of passes this year. I believe Jones Drew caught just about as many balls as T.O. I believe I think 3 fewer.
He probably didn't drop as many.
No. And if you're in point per reception, that's fantasy gold right there.
Absolutely.
And next year you have to think, Fred Taylor, another year older, is he even going to be there? And how big of a factor is he going to be? There's a good chance that Jones Drew is one of the rare feature backs that really has no one to share time with, and Jones Drew could just end up being a top 5 running back next year. He has all the capability in the world.
Yeah.
I think you have to keep Jones Drew.
Now, you bring up a good point with the PPR. I mean, if you get a guy who will get you 5-6 catches a game out of the backfield. That's just gravy. You just can't beat that.
61 catches, 555 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Wow. I tell you what, 61 catches, if you get a point per reception, I know 61 points right now, you divide that up, and who knows what that does for you on certain weeks. That makes the difference between winning and losing.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Sure. And then what about guys, though, too, at running back, like
T.O., 63 catches. Sorry.
Steven, that's all right. And how many Jones Drew have?
61.
Yeah, you were close. Jesus, Eric, you're only 2 off. Come on.
I know, I got it.
Well, and then what about guys, though, that have the big name, like Steven Jackson, but don't do anything? Obviously, you can't keep a Steve Jackson, but what if he has a big year next year?
I keep Steven Jackson. Again, but I play, every league I'm in is point per reception. And, again, he's a guy that catches balls. And if he's in the game and healthy, he's usually incredibly productive, and he's all St. Louis has on offense. I like Steven Jackson.
I do, too, but it would make a difference to me, one, what is St. Louis going to do with the head coach? If they're going to get someone, I want to see who they get. Hazlitt, I'm sorry, Hazlitt just doesn't do it for me. Also, are they going to do anything with the offensive line? The offensive line is really not that stout either. But Jackson's got all the ability in the world, man. I mean, there's no one else. That guy's a horse.
No,
he's got size, power. He catches balls out of the backfield. He's got speed. He's definitely keeper material, but depending on what the team does around him is whether I keep him or not.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too, where you have to look at the whole team and see if you want to revolve your fantasy team around a guy that's on a bad football team. Let's go to looking at wide receivers, possible keepers. Not as many as running backs, obviously, but I have my top-tier guys, and then I want to hear yours, too. You got Calvin Johnson. I mean, if you got him in your roster, you got to keep him. Randy Moss, Steve Smith, and then it kind of just fades to me. I wouldn't keep a whole lot of outside of those guys, but I also listed Andre Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald. Roddy White could be a risk, but had a big year, and then you kind of even peters out a little bit more. I got Bolden, Driver, and then I even listed T.O.
Roddy White is a guy you have to look at, and I learned something very valuable going into this season because I passed on Brandon Marshall, as did a lot of other people. And if you look at the situation they were in Denver, the year before he caught over 100 balls in his second season. Cutler was just still learning the system. Nothing was changing on that offense. It was only going to get better. So going into this year, we all should have seen Brandon Marshall coming. I think that Roddy White will be that guy next year. He's got 85 catches so far, 1,334 yards, 6 touchdowns. Matt Ryan's getting better. Atlanta's getting better. Roddy White will have a bigger and better season next year.
Yeah, Atlanta's the NFC's version of Houston as far as I'm concerned. They've got everything in place to really be good. I'm with you. I think Roddy White's going to be monster next year.
Yeah.
We do have a phone call if you guys want to weigh in on it and disagree or agree. 529-1450 is the phone number. Good morning. You're on Fantasy Football 101.
They just gave up.
Oh,
I was trying to talk fast.
No,